Boston College returns to the practice field, and we're going to give you an update on everything that's happened with the Eagles since the last time BC has played. We're also going to look at why is hockey so down over the last couple of years. All of this and more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has got you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So Boston College football returned to the practice field on Tuesday. We talked a little bit about this on yesterday's podcast, but I wanted to dive into some of the comments made because I think, I can tell you some of the stuff that's going on, but to hear it directly from the coaches, hearing some of the things that they have to say, and some of the players, you get a better feel. And my job as your host is to kind of weed through and find the good stuff. Because, if you listen, no offense to coaches, their job is not to give us sound bites. And a lot of times you get the same kind of just like boilerplate answer to everything. You hear about how exciting things are. They're doing this, they're doing that. And that's all great. I'm not saying that that's wrong. It's just, who needs to hear about every player being exciting, right? So, what were some of the nuggets? What were some of the things that you need to know about from BC football from the last practice? I found some interesting stuff. The first thing that I noticed that popped up was George Takacs. And Jeff Hafley spoke of him, and I thought his comment was good. And I'm not going to play his comment. I'll actually just read it to you this time. He said, I haven't been around him too much. I'm excited to get to know him more. Obviously, once he entered the portal, that was a guy Coach McNulty had coached. He had been around. He spoke highly of him in person, which, with him at me in the portal character, is he going to fit here? Is he going to fit in the locker room? Can he help us? He answered yes to all those questions, and I'm very excited to see what he brings here. He gives us. He's tall, he's fast, and I hope he gives us a lot of production. I'm excited that he was able to get here and hopefully get started as soon as he gets acclimated. We love using those tight ends, so that was one of the guys who just fit. When you talk about the portal again, I'm not going to live in it, but I'm going to do it when we need to or we can find a good fit. That's a guy with a relationship. It was a no-brainer. I'm glad he chose to come here. I know Phil Dracovic is excited too. Definitely. Familiarity with your quarterback and your offensive coordinator, that checks a lot of boxes for us. We're excited to work with him, and I'm excited to get to know him. So... He talked a little bit about there, Hafley hit about a lot of his themes, and I wanted to bring it up because he brought a guy in that hit all those boxes, and he's being truthful here. When you look at who Boston College brings in on the recruiting trail and the transfer portal, it's almost always someone that somebody on the staff, someone on the roster can vouch for. You look up and down that roster, and you got guys like Jaelen Gill, knew Jeff Hafley at Ohio State. Phil Dracovic, he knew Frank Cignetti when Cignetti was the offensive coordinator. Even if you go down to Jaden Woodby, Jeff Hafley recruited him out of high school, so he knew him there. So there's all these connections, and that's how BC picks their guys. And he says it again, he's not living in the portal. And he's being truthful. That's 3 or 4 guys now that they've had in the portal. You look at a team like Florida State or Miami, and these guys are bringing in 6, 7, 8 guys. They are living in the portal. Boston College is not doing that. And so, again, for the folks out there that think BC needs to change their system, Hafley's saying what he's going to do. And you can agree with it, or you can say he's full of it. I think he's doing the right thing, and I think it's going to help him on the recruiting trail as he moves down the road. But I think that's what he did with Takacs. He was able to make that determination based off of how McNulty saw him. I'm sure Dracovic probably had some things to say as well, and he made that decision, and I think that worked really well. Now, he also talked a little bit about Jaelen Gill's role. He said really that he's hoping, and Jaelen Gill said it later, that they're going to do more and more with him. And I think Jaelen Gill's role last year, like many other people, including Zay Flowers on offense, was truncated with the injury to Phil Dracovic. So they weren't able to do everything they wanted to him, and they're hoping that he's going to become a big year. And he said he's got to stay healthy. So that's been a big issue with Gill. He missed some time last year. He's had a couple injuries here and there, and it's football. It's a tough game. You know what I mean? Like I've said that before. Like those guys out there are putting their body on the line. It's tough. So hopefully he can stay healthy because he's going to be a great number 2 or number 3 depending on where Jaden Williams goes. In terms of the practice itself, there was some interesting notes that the school brought on, and it's interesting now that for how many years? Seems like 10 years. Jason Baum was always the guy to go to. I mean, if you listen to Jeff Hafley press conference, he refers to him all the time as J Baum. Well, Jason Baum is now at Creighton, and so they've got piecemeal stuff of the other SIDs working on it. So they got guys like Brendan Flynn and Alistair Ingram who did hockey. Alistair Ingram is like the temporary fill-in for Jason right now. And they were talking about some of the players, and you see the same names over and over again when you read this, right? Phil Dracovic and Zay Flowers making a lot of plays. I think that's going to be the theme for the next 10 months. You're going to hear a lot about that. Jaden Williams is also in there. But the names that I thought that were really interesting that popped up was Lewis Bond, who's a wide receiver. I've said all along that I think he could be a guy that steps up. And I said when, you lost Ethan Williams, Jelani Galloway, Kobe White, and CJ Lewis, they're doing that because they want the younger guys to have an opportunity to step up. And Taji Johnson, who was also listed on here for a big play, is one of the big ones. But Lewis Bond is up there too. I think Lewis Bond is a guy that could see some snaps this year, along with Dino Tomlin and, Dante Reynolds is the other one that popped up. Dante Reynolds was a big-time practice warrior last year. I know he was on the practice squad a lot, but he's not. That's not his role. That's not where he's going to be. But I think there's a lot of talent on that wide receiver group, and Hafley had to make that move in terms of pushing guys towards or telling guys what their role is going to be so that they could go to the transfer portal, so these younger kids can get in and they can develop them without them leaving. And you're starting to hear their names pop up more, but. The defense, there were two names on defense that I think are worth talking about. First of all, Amari Jackson. His name is already popping up all over the place. So, he's an early enrollee. He's a freshman out of Georgia with a ton of big offers. BC held off Tennessee at the very end. And I think he's going to be an exciting defensive back. He had an interception at practice. With Sean Asbury gone, with Brandon Sebastian gone, I am telling you right now, Amari Jackson is going to be on the 2 deep. He's going to be on the 2 deep coming this summer, playing. He may not start right away, but he's going to see significant playing time, and he's going to also be really good. He's a really good player. I think he's going to be someone you're going to want to watch. The name though that popped up, and I was really glad to see it, was Owen Mcgowan. Now, Owen Mcgowan, if you don't remember, was a class of 2021 recruit. He was a freshman last year out of Massachusetts, a 4-star linebacker / fullback, but he's playing linebacker now. Local kid. You just love to see local kids do well at BC. I honestly, I think he originally committed to Steve Adazio. I didn't know what his role would be in Jeff Hafley's system. So to hear his name pop up, that's great because the linebacker group is thin, and he might be a guy that has to step up, and I think that'll be big for BC if he can do that. In a moment, one of our readers asked a question the other day on Maroon and Gold forums about hockey. And I want to give one thought I've been having about hockey, and I'll give you a little bit of data to kind of back it up, but it's more of my gut feeling. And I'm going to talk about why hockey hasn't been as good as it had been historically for BC over the last couple of years. You're going to hear about that in just a moment. Man, do I love March Madness, and I love those brackets, but I can't remember the last time I actually went deep or even won any money. I'm hedging my bets this year with Stat Heroes NCAA Pick'em Contest. Stat Heroes NCAA Single Game Pick'ems pits the star players against each other in an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Take control back from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. Start focusing on the players you know best with the gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. Stat Hero gives you the advantage, resulting in their gamers winning 4 times more often. Why? Because Stat Hero eliminates the mystery about who or what you are going against. In addition to their pick'ems games, they also have dozens of lineups you can comb through to take on head-to-head. They simply post sets of players for you to take on with a set of players you choose. Stat Hero is so easy, and it's the fastest way to get your sports action fix. The simple, sleek gameplay will have you playing in minutes. This is what daily fantasy was meant to be. Sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon and use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon and use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% match. stathero.com/lockedon, promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions do apply. Now this is Locked On Boston College. If you have not checked it out, you got to check out some of the excellent other podcasts on our network. If you're into college basketball in the tournament, which is starting this afternoon, you're going to want to check out Locked On Zags, Locked On Tar Heels, Locked On Duke. I mean, they have everything on this on our network. So if there's a team you want to know more about, you want to root for, or a game that happens and you want a good recap, check those shows out. They're awesome, and there's pretty much one for every team. And if not the team, then we have a whole network of other shows that will be doing it. Always ping me if you want some advice. I can give it to you on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. So I want to talk a little hockey. So we've done a little bit of a postmortem on basketball up on our site, but hockey also finished the season. And, it was easily one of the most disappointing seasons in BC history. And if they hadn't finished with a nice 3-game winning streak and a win in the Hockey East tournament, it would have been really bad. But they at least put things together near the end of the season. But one person, one of our readers asked me, they said, "Hey, AJ, can you talk about what you think went wrong? What did you notice? What do you think happened that caused BC to have such an epic collapse?" And, I think it's been something that I've noticed for a while now. And yes, I know BC has won, Hockey East tournaments, and they've won, not even Hockey East tournaments, regular season Hockey East. But what I've noticed is this lack of a killer offensive player. And it's been something that's kind of trickled in over the last couple of years. You go back to good BC hockey teams. Who are the players that you remember? It's the Brian Jontas, the Johnny Gaudreaus, this Cam Atkinsons, Kevin Hayes, Nathan Gerbies, all those big players that could score. And, it didn't have to always be a killer like Johnny Gaudreau, who's one of the best offensive players BC probably will ever have. But you had guys that you could count on to be electric on offense. If you look at this team this year, who was their electric offensive player? You had Jack McBain, who at times showed pieces of that, and I'll give him that. But was he ever consistent? And he wasn't healthy. So he wasn't. It was definitely not something I would consider in anywhere near that range. He had 33 points on the season. In 24 games. So he didn't play a full season. He was missing. Then after that, it was a huge drop off, right? Then after that, it's Mark Mclaughlin. Is Mark Mclaughlin a can't miss offensive prospect? No, he's a solid player, but solid players isn't what takes teams to that next level. And I don't think BC has and hasn't had in the couple years those top line guys that make that huge difference. Last year, you had Alex Newhook, and, as much as you want to say it, he was a nice first-round draft pick. Was he a game changer in and out like Johnny Gaudreau was, or like Nathan Gerby was? No, he was not. He was a good player, but he was not that top-end guy. And BC has been missing that for years, because you look at who BC has been leading them on offense, and you have, Jack McBain, you have Mark Mclaughlin, you have the other Gaudreau brother. You had Newhook, who had a decent year. You had Mattila from Finland, but these guys are not. They're not the elite players that Boston College. I mean, Mattila I don't even think he's in the NHL. These guys are not elite players. They're good. But again, just like in college football, if you have a team full of good players, you're not going to win the national championship. You need a team with some elite players. And this year they didn't have it. I don't think they had it last year. They need to get that again. They need a offensive threat, and a couple of them too, right? You need some good speed out there. You need a couple good guys to win. Because I mean, with Gaudreau, it wasn't just Gaudreau. There was other guys around him. But BC hasn't had that, and I don't know if it's the recruiting, I don't know if it's the coaching, or some sort of combination in between. But BC, for me, just someone watching this, I'm not an analytics for hockey, but I can tell you what I see. When I watch BC hockey, I can tell you, okay, there's no one on that team that I'm like, ooh, the other team has to account for that person all the time. But they'll score because they've got some good talent there, but they're not that next level, and that killed them. And you know, I think there was obviously other issues. Goalie was a big mess this year at different times. There was issues on defense, and you know, they were messy all over the place. But for me, my big takeaway from the last string of seasons, and the reasons why they haven't gone to that next level, why they haven't dominated hockey, is why they've let UMass. I mean, look at what UMass has done. UMass has had, I think I saw 4 straight years with Hobey Baker finalists. I mean, BC had one last year in Boldy, but I don't think Boldy had a chance. But UMass guys seem to have one every year, and BC needs to have that. And I think that upper level of elite talent has been missing for a while, and hopefully next year we'll see some improvement in that area. But I think it was such a drop off this year that was very clear. Next, you're going to hear from Candace Cooper, our ACC Locked On host, who's going to talk to Jason Jaramillo, the founder of Stat Hero, and discusses the NCAA tournament and how using Stat Hero is a no-brainer for enjoying the tournament. You're going to want to check this out. She talks all about how the ACC is involved in all of this, so it's something you won't want to miss. Now, if you're like me, your New Year's resolution has probably gone down the drain by now. But not this year. I'm sticking to the resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually do enjoy eating them. And have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of the best Built Bars creations they've ever come up with. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, and they are delicious and filled with protein. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors, including the cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, and banana cream pie. They're so good. I need one right now. All Built Bars are covered in 100% chocolate, and they've got some great flavors that you're going to want to check out, including mint brownie, coconut almond, and new this month, the white chocolate cookies and cream. They're all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. If you think a flavor might be good, they'll make it. It will be delicious, and it'll be good for you. So just head on over to Built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. It's that time of the year again as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On ACC Podcast, and it is March Madness, so we have to get all of the heavy hitters in here. So we got some of our crew from Stat Hero, Jason Jaramillo, joining us to talk about Stat Hero and just why you guys should most importantly get into the game. Jason, how are you?
Candace, to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And are you excited about March? I feel like it's the best time of year. It's starting to get a little bit warmer. Maybe I don't know where you're from, but down here in North Carolina, it's a little bit warmer. People have their attitudes are different. And, it's basketball country around here. So we're real hyped.
I live in Scottsdale, so I'm used to the
heat.
So it's a nice 70 degrees. I can sit back, look at my bracket. Candace, you understand? Like this is the winning bracket. You have
is it
VIP access to this? You understand?
I wish I could get close up.
I'll give you some tidbits. I gotta win it all. I have to take full credit, so I'll give you a couple of today.
Okay. Do you have all #1s picked in the Final Four? Just tell me that.
I will never do that ever. In fact, I don't have #1 winning it. I do have a #1 in the final.
Okay. Cool. So we all know that everyone loves to get a bracket. We all love the idea of possibly getting the best bracket out of the bunch. But talk to us about Stat Hero and just why it's so important to maybe do some of these single game pickups.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the reason I created this side, and we're going to talk about the pick'em side of Stat Hero specifically, is I'm a sports bettor, a bad sports bettor. I think I say that with confidence. And you see these sports betting, and obviously that's the most popular thing outside of the bracket. But the top sports bettors in the world, they're only hitting 50 to 52%, and these are the guys that do it for a living, that are sitting there
Right.
analyzing hours upon hours a day, all right? And the only reason they make money is they know how much to bet bet that they want to make, right? So I'm like, man, there's got to be an easier way to have that instant gratification experience, right? Like your sports betting, but actually easier to win, because you don't really have any fun if you're not winning. At least I don't. DFS, sports betting side, or you're chasing, right? So I
Yeah.
created the pick'em, which is basically super simple. All you do,
Mhm.
all we did, is we take two rosters made up of players, hitting them up against each other. And you, as the player, will see that matchup and say, okay, who do I think will win on the fantasy side of things, right? Who's going to get more points? So team A or team B. And we have those across throughout the whole tournament. And you basically pick a side and you make a play on it, and we cover that amount, and that's it, you're in. So it's the fastest, easiest way to play DFS. You don't have to be an expert. It's not intimidating. You're not putting a bunch of time in. It's like, okay, I'm going to follow this game. I'm going to follow the Duke game, and I'm going to take this side, and I'm just going to root for players. And that takes away also the bad beats of a sports bet, right? No ref bad calls, which Candace, I don't know how much sports betting you do, but it's always the last 2 minutes, right, that end up screwing you somehow. So you don't have to worry about that. It's just more player performance. So we're really excited about giving the pick'em, and players make it, play it for the tournament.
No doubt about it. Listen, we here at the ACC know a lot about bad refs, and so that's pretty much what we're on brand for. So I have no problem not giving it into the hands of some referees, because we have this guy named TV Tony who loves to just give himself some extra minutes by blowing that whistle at the last two. So no doubt about that here. But
Kill
it
me.
definitely feel you. But Stat Hero is definitely one of the easiest and fastest ways to get my sport action fixed. Now, I'm more of a sports bettor to where, let me check the vibe. So I'm a vibe checker. If I feel like teams are hot right now, like a Virginia Tech of the world, I might go with them. Or one that I truly believe has the best talent, like Duke, I'm going to go with them. Are there, ways that people can get analysis about it, or should we just go off the strength of the vibe check?
Well, that's the cool thing, right? We offer anything from, we don't want you to have to do a ton of research in order to make the games more interesting, right? So we offer anywhere from a 2-on-2 matchup all the way up to a 6-on-6 matchup. So depending, and you have your choice. So how much you want to get into it in regards to research perspective. Most of those are going to be the 5-on-5, 6-on-6s. But 2-on-2, most of any ACC fan is going to know two main players hitting against two main players of the game. And so to answer your question, yes, the research is definitely there if you want to do it. But if you also just want, a nice, easy way to sit back and watch the game and have little research, that option there too.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get to this bracket here, because you told me this is the winning one. And I would just love to know how many ACC teams you have at least going to the Elite Eight, if any.
Oh,
Pressure.
man. Candace, your users aren't going to like me very much.
Oh, my gracious.
I do not have any of them making the Elite.
Okay.
Yes, I have Davidson ending Duke's season.
Davidson. Huh. Okay. Not surprising, because it's probably going to be a low-level team, but go for it. Why Davidson?
I just, that matchup, it scares me. I have Duke. Where am I at? I want to make sure I see this. Okay, so I have Davidson beating Michigan. Michigan, or is it Michigan State, right? And then I have Duke getting past Fullerton. And yeah, I just think it's going to be that, 'cause, they're inexperienced, right? We know this. I think there's, everybody. I think actually, I'm going to speak for myself. I want Coach K to go out on top. Of course, I'm a huge fan of him. An inexperienced team having that pressure of knowing, oh my gosh, this could be Coach K's last game. Oh my gosh. I do see, like what you said, a lower level team kind of getting the better of them. And then I have Davidson playing Tech the next round, and Tech moving on. So that's unfortunately, that's a crystal ball prediction, Candace. So hopefully, don't buy those Elite Eight tickets quite yet.
Listen, as a Carolina grad, I could care less that Duke doesn't make it far. I would prefer if a Davidson upsets, right? But that's fine. But I hear what you're saying. It's a lot of pressure to try and be Coach K's last. More importantly, try and get him his 6th national championship. So no, but is Duke the team that goes the furthest out of the ACC? I feel like you don't have anybody else going barely out of their first round.
I have Vatek making
Okay.
it Kentucky. In fact, I have Vatek making it further.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. I liked what I saw. I think they're good. I like them getting past Texas, and they're going to play Purdue, and of course they're going to be underdogs. But I don't know. Something tells me that these guys are hungry, and I needed to pick. If it's not going to be Duke, I had to pick an ACC team to represent.
Okay, that's fair. And North Carolina is not going to beat Marquette.
That's what I had. Is that what you have? You have
Honestly, no. North Carolina won their Super Bowl, their national championship for me by beating Coach K during his farewell tour. So they don't have to win another game. I'll be okay.
You have Duke friends that didn't even talk with like the next 3 games after that. Even bringing it up, I'm like, hey, look at the conference tournament. What's going on? Whatever. They're going to lose the first round, or it's very defeatist. And then it's funny. They make it to the championship, right? They're playing Vatek, and they're like, I'm like, hey, and I'm trying to get them pumped up. We'll see. I'm not looking. It's very, very low level expectation, which is, I guess, interesting to me. I mean, they watch more than I do.
Listen, I think that North Carolina team broke spirits, and that's okay. Again, when you have a thing, when you know your team's not going to win a championship, how can we hurt others? And we had to hurt Duke by making sure we downpour on their final farewell. I'm fine with that. Having to give a speech after you just lost a game like that, that's gotta be fly on the wall. I would have paid that $5,000.
Yeah, how many times did you watch that over and over?
Listen, they had a replay. They're like, let's relive Coach K's final one. I don't really know if they want that, but here we are. No, I was gonna say, who is your winner? I know it's not gonna be an ACC school, but who do you have winning the whole thing?
I have Tennessee winning the whole thing, baby.
What? Are you a Tennessee grad? Are you being a homer? Because what?
I am not a Tennessee grad. I'm not being. That is my dark horse from the beginning of the tournament. The conference tournament. I said Tennessee is my dark horse. They go and they win the thing. I think their seeding was BS. Auburn's got a higher seed than them. Are you kidding me? I mean, Auburn isn't going to make it the first 2 rounds. I guarantee it. Nobody that's ever lost that early in a conference tournament goes far in the actual. So Auburn's done. And then who's the number one? I don't even know. Kentucky. I have Kentucky making it to the Final Four. Here's my Final Four, Candace. Write this down. Memorize it.
I got it. Here.
Kansas against Tennessee. Now, the reason why is I think Kansas is kind of just by default is making because I have a lot of upsets in that. I have Colgate beating Wisconsin, by the way. Mark that down.
Oh.
And then I have Kentucky and Gonzaga. And I have the Zags playing.
Oh, okay. I like that. So we got my Final Four. I'm going to make sure I go to Stat Hero, get all my picks in. I know I'm a vibe checker. We're not going to do too much analysis because it's all supposed to be fun here in March Madness. But can you please remind folks of where they can find all of this and make sure that they log on and get everything situated as they're making their daily fantasy made easy?
Yes. So go, if you're on your desktop, play stathero.com. You can also download it on iOS or Android. For new users, we actually have a free pick'em contest out there. Actually, a few of them where you can just play for free, and if you pick the winning side, you get a free $25 on us. So, nice. Candace, I don't know what else I got to give the audience here. I'm giving them bracket winning pick. I'm giving them $25. Just pick the winning side. I mean, I don't know what to do, Candace, but I think that's enough.
You're setting these people up for success, that's for sure. You guys, make sure you check out Stat Hero. It's a great site. It's going to make sure that you feel good about all of your picks. And you can check out Jason and the rest of his crew and make sure you guys come back once we figure out who the winner is. We'll have to bring you back so you can talk about your great bracket, just so you know. So,
yes, the winning
open
bracket.
Invitation.
I want you to bring back the recording of you saying, what? And then you're like, yeah, you know what? You're the man.
It's coming back for sure. We're going to have this one in the rotation heavy.
All right.